te iwi e hui nei, kia ora tātou. Ki a karangatira e rere tonu ana, nā mihi nui ki a koutou. Kua hui hui mai nei e tēnei rā, ki tau toko e te kaupapa o te rā. Tēnei, te mihi nui, te mihi mahana ki a koutou. He whai aki i ngā mihi, e ki ana te whakatauki, nā tōraru, nā tokoraru, ka ora ai te iwi. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Good evening. Thank you so much for being here on behalf of the Green Building Council. We're really delighted for you to join us today. And I really want to thank Auckland Council and Auckland Conversations for wanting to collaborate with us and work with us to help celebrate Te Wiki o Te Hanana Tautaiao o Te Ao World Green Building Week with us. This week is the biggest week on the global green building calendar, and we've been joined by thousands of other New Zealanders like you in the room that have been buoyed by the increased awareness of the need for better, healthier buildings. In the last 2 years, we've seen a huge surge in green financing schemes. Gareth Hughes last night down in Parliament was mentioning how close our zero carbon legislation was coming. We've also seen hundreds of organisations now sign up to the Climate Leaders Coalition commitment. And later this week, we're going to see hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders, and hopefully most of you in the room, taking to the streets on Friday for the climate strikes. Yeah. So it's very clear that the science, industry, politics and people are all demanding a better, more sustainable future. So the challenge is upon us to rein in the building and construction emissions, emissions that have risen more than 66% in the last decade, and are the equivalent to more than 1 million cars on our roads every year. With 20% of our country's carbon footprint coming from the built environment, it's certainly time for us to set a pathway for reducing our climate pollution from our buildings. And that's why the New Zealand Green Building Council was delighted yesterday to launch the Zero Carbon Roadmap for Aotearoa's buildings. And in this document, it sets out how zero carbon is going to be measured and identified, and also how we're going to verify that, and also how it's going to evolve in Aotearoa. Also yesterday, we launched the Zero Carbon for Building Operations certification. And this looks at 3 key aspects: putting energy efficiency first, followed by on-site energy generation, and finally offsetting. And it also sets out how those benchmarks are going to be ratcheted up over time. And following this next year, we'll be launching zero carbon for new buildings and also finally homes. But also, it's very clear to us that a zero carbon certification isn't a standalone tool to achieve zero emissions. Throughout the document, we've identified significant milestones that both the government and industry must achieve to work together to decarbonise our buildings. And these include a stepped improvement to our building code, a significant increase in the transparency around the energy efficiency of our buildings, and also a big call for key government ministries and departments to lead a real transformational shift to greener buildings. And so once all parts of this pathway are in place, our building and construction sector will be zero carbon, and it will be the greatest achievement ever, I believe, for our industry in Aotearoa. And the first step is very simple. All we need to do is measure the footprint of the building in which we work, own or tenant. And this first step will ensure that by 2050, our buildings will be the zero carbon, special, healthy places that we all deserve. And so obviously this was a combined effort in putting this together. So I really wanted to take some time to thank some really key people. We travelled the country and we spoke to and listened to plenty of New Zealanders, to architects, to engineers, to building owners and facility managers, to product and materials suppliers. And we've captured some really great stories from people that are acting now and taking significant steps to achieve this. And together we've set a realistic pathway for achieving zero carbon buildings. So a huge thank you to everyone that's involved in those stories we captured. To Argosy, Baileys, Precinct, Warren, Amani and Resine, thank you for supporting this work and ensuring that it gets done. And to ICA, who may not all sort of agree with everything in this roadmap, but they've certainly been the stewards of the Neighbour scheme and brought it to New Zealand. And also to Temper Zone and Bailey's. Every day the Green Building Council is encouraged by your support and your own commitment to the cause. We thank you for that. And also to the Environment Solutions team that we've worked alongside this with, a hugely passionate, inspiring team. It's been an absolute pleasure working with you. And to our own team at the Green Building Council, it's been a tremendous few years getting to this point, and everyone works so tirelessly to the cause, so we can't thank you enough. And I know our CEO, Andrea Eagles, is very disappointed to not be here tonight. So climate change is our greatest challenge. And by joining together and acting now, we can tell a new story to New Zealand businesses, to other sectors, but just as importantly, a new story to property sectors around the world. According to the whakatauki, nā tōraru, nā tokuraru, ka ora ai te iwi. By working in isolation, we may result in survival, but if we work together, we can move beyond survival and into prosperity. It is a big challenge, but we are going to do it together. So I really encourage you to pick up this document. There'll be copies available at the back of the room tonight before you leave, and to see where you can start to join in the challenge. You don't want to see that? So this brings me to the rest of the evening. We identified that not all the solutions are going to be easy, and they may involve some really difficult challenges. But we have to accept these challenges and deploy solutions very quickly. And throughout this week, we've been debating various solutions. Last night, down in Wellington, looking at peak electricity demand. Tomorrow in Christchurch, looking at fossil fuels. And tonight, the challenge of tackling polluting products and materials.